Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Occupational Health and Safety Diploma full-time online info session. This event is being presented to you by Bobby Sidhu.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, sorry, Bobby. Just before we
No,
get
I was just saying hi.
the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Today's agenda is our welcome and introduction. Bobby just said hello. We're going to go through a poll, a video, a presentation, a section reviewing how to apply to the program, and then an open Q&A. At this point, I'd like to pass it over to Bobby Sidhu, the program head.
Great, thank you for joining our info session. So as I said, I'm Bobby Sidhu. I'm the program head for the BCIT Occupational Health and Safety Diploma program, though I will talk about the certificate program as well. We'll do a poll, a video, the overview. We'll talk about advising and open it up for a Q&A. So with respect to occupational health and safety, the question I'm going to ask you is, what industries do OHS professionals typically work in? Where do you think you're going to find them? And the answer was anywhere there are workers. That is correct. So you're going to find occupational health and safety professionals anywhere that you're going to find workers. And so I'll just share the results there in industry. So we're just going to play this video that gives you a little bit of an overview in the program.
I love my job because I get fulfillment from it, knowing that people get to go home safe every night at the end of the day. Working with people, I mean, it's a huge part of what I do day in and day out. Working with the juniors, the apprentices, even the executives on trying to help them understand their health and safety responsibilities. The Occupational Health and Safety Diploma program at BCIT is second to none. It really prepares you for the on-site, real-world situations that you're going to come up against. And that's why I chose BCIT.
BCIT's Occupational Health and Safety Diploma program is the most comprehensive program of its kind in Canada. Our students get in-class lectures and labs, but also hands-on experience and a practicum on-site to give them practical knowledge. Our students learn to recognize, evaluate, and control a variety of workplace hazards and worker exposures, such as noise exposure, lighting, fall protection, and any other chemical contaminants that might be found in the workplace.
Every industry will require some type of safety. So whether I choose to stay in healthcare or move into oil and gas or into mining or into engineering, there will always be a job for health and safety professionals.
Every day knowing that the workers get to go home safely to their family, to their children, that is probably the #1 factor in me pushing forward to get this done properly and correctly every day.
All right, so what is occupational health and safety? So you saw in the video, there was a couple of descriptions of what OHS was. So is it right for you? Particularly for our applicants and our successful graduates, one of the most important skills you need to have is communication. So if you're a strong communicator who enjoys working and protecting the health of workers, likes to problem solve, investigate things, and find solutions, this program's right for you. Typically, our applicants have 3 to 5 years work experience, and it doesn't really matter what they have work experience in, as long as they've worked in a professional environment, and that can be anywhere from healthcare to retail, to working in municipalities, to working labor, to working in call centers. Again, any sort of professional work where they deal with the public. So we have 2 options for our programs. One is the full-time diploma program. It's 2 years. And the big benefit of that program is that you learn a lot of, you work in teams, you learn a lot more than just the OHS classes. You learn about human resources, communication, decision-making, leadership, and there's a lot of mentoring that happens, and industry connections in our diploma program. We also have a part-time certificate program, and that's broken into 2 certificates. One is the associate certificates in the foundations of OHS, and then the certificate in advanced safety management. So I'll talk about those 2 a bit further. So the associate certificate in the foundations of OHS is 7 credits, 7 courses, 20 credits. It usually takes us about 18 to 24 months to complete. If you take about 2 or 3 classes a term, we have 3 terms in a year. And so those are for people who are already working in industry, and maybe they're in an entry-level OHS position, maybe they joined the JOSH committee and they realize that this is a career for them. So they can complete that foundations fairly quick. And an added benefit is that it meets the academic requirements of the Canadian Registered Safety Technician designation from the Board of Canadian Registered Safety Professionals. After you complete that, you can go on and get a job in industry and then work your way towards the Advanced Safety Management Certificate. It's 15 courses for a total of 45 credits. And we do allow up to 5 transfer credits. And this really helps someone transition from that entry-level role into higher level jobs and careers in OHS. And so you do need the associate certificate in the foundations of OHS before you can start your advanced safety management. And together, these 2 credentials make you meet the academic qualifications of the CRSP designation from the BCRSP. Of course, there is a 4-year work experience requirement as well. And so if anybody's interested in our certificate pathway, you can reach out to David Wood, David_Wood at bcit.ca. He's doing an information session tomorrow at 5 p.m. to talk a little bit more detail about the certificate program. So again, what's the objectives and outcomes of our diploma program, coming back to the 2-year program that we have on site? Well, learning about safety management systems is really important. Learning about safety leadership, how to work with workers, employers, industry, the regulator, which, for example, WorkSafe BC. So conflict resolution to get consensus among these groups is really important. We do talk about technical aspects of OHS. So getting right down to the type of hazards that people are exposed to and the type of controls that we will use. But it is a generalist approach, so our grads can work anywhere in any industry, and they learn a wide variety of skills, from interpreting legislation and communicating with regulators and doing assessments. And our grads go anywhere from the entry-level safety positions to safety officers with regulators, to safety coordinators, to managers of OHS and larger organizations. So how is the diploma program run? Well, there's a combination of classroom lectures, interactive discussions, interactive activities. You're in school pretty much full time. It's about 30 hours a week, Monday to Friday. It varies from a range of 8:30 to 5:30 with breaks in between. Sometimes you start a little later, sometimes you leave a little earlier, but that's the general framework. We do actual case studies looking at accidents or issues that arise in industries. We have research projects and field work that students do engage in. And we do a wide number of technical laboratories and as well. For example, occupational hygiene assessments in the chemical, biological, and physical areas, fire protection courses, ergonomics. There's a lot of individual and group work. And in particular, we offer industry practicum. It's not in the summer, it's during the school year, where you work with an industry partner to do an audit of their safety management system. So the students work with industry and get real experience on how to effectively audit and then present that back to their industry partner. And of course, we try to, now that we're coming out of the pandemic and actually are managing to get out, field trips and jobs observations on site or something we're bringing back into the program. So the diploma program is exceptionally strong in its networking opportunities. So BCIT has career fairs. We have strong liaisons with the Canadian Society of Safety Engineers and the American Industrial Hygiene Association, where they have monthly meetings that now occur at BCIT. So we work with them to make it very convenient for our students to attend their meetings. Students have executive membership, so there's a student representative on both of those 2 organizations from our classes. And for the CCSE, I believe in what only the BCI student in BC sits there, and AIHA has a UBC student and a BCIT student who sit on the, so very few schools in BC are that connected with those industry organizations. They also provide professional development opportunities, as well as there's a number of industry associations that we work with to provide opportunities for our students to attend their events. There's North American Occupational Health and Safety and Health Week, NIOSH Week, which we're also involved in. And as I mentioned, local health and safety conferences in that wide variety of industry sectors, which I'll talk about shortly. I mean, there's 3 conferences this month, one to do with municipal safety, one to do with BC construction safety, and one to do with manufacturing safety that our students have the opportunity to attend. And we bring in lots of guest lectures. We had a speed mentoring event just last week where 20 industry mentors sat down with our 20 students, and they rotated to speak and learn about their experience and get scouted for jobs as well too, because that's one of the reasons the mentors come in, because they're looking for grads when the school term ends to employ. So when we look at our student profile, about 70% of our students do have a bachelor's degree already. Many of them have graduated from places like SFU or UBC, and they're now trying to get some career-ready skills, so they come back to BCIT. We have about 10 students who are 10% probably sponsored through WorkSafe or related organizations. And the remaining 20% are either coming from industry, and they've been working in a while, maybe as a carpenter or as a steam fitter or an electrician, and they've realized, I think I want to move into a safety role or a professional role. Or they're, students who are coming from a wide variety of professional backgrounds internationally, like masters, PhD, medical doctors, who are looking to upscale in Canada and get into the working field. So we have a very diverse group of people in our program. We have landscapers next to doctors, next to master's students, next to electricians, next to bachelor students. So that actually provides a lot of learning opportunity from the variety of life skills everyone has that they share with each other. And they come from a variety of work experiences. I mentioned a few before. Everybody comes from very, very different places. And so the median age is about 30, but we'll have people as young as 24 all the way up to 55. Next slide. So what does an OHS practitioner do? Well, we develop, implement, monitor, and evaluate safety management programs, safety management systems in occupational health and safety, environmental management, in large and medium-sized organizations. We work with government agencies such as WorkSafe BC or Labour Canada to make sure that in businesses are compliant with safety legislation. So we interpret that legislation for businesses. A lot of them businesses, they want to make their product, they want to employ people and run a successful business, but they need someone to understand what the legislation says about keeping their workers safe. And that's where our students fall, our graduates do. We develop training programs for employers. For example, if people who come in from a JOSH committee who join us from a Joint Occupational Safety Committee, they require 8 hours of training annually. So our students will provide that training. They coordinate safety programs, promotion programs. They lead Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committees and other committees. And they can do technical assessments as well, air, noise, vibration, temperature. And it's not to say that you're going to do all of this stuff. You may focus on some very specific aspects. You may do a lot of this stuff. And so there's an opportunity to specialize or be a generalist. So what's a day in the life? Well, it can be workplace inspections. So there's some work on the floors on the site, but a lot of work what we do is in the office as well too. So writing or reviewing safe work procedures, safe operating procedures, conducting risk assessments, doing education and training. If an accident occurs, being a part of that investigation team or leading that investigation to determine what the root causes were. Chairing or co-chairing or sitting on a variety of committees and meetings like those Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committees or management meetings or toolbox talks or meetings with WorkSafe BC, conducting those noise and air sampling assessments, or hiring someone to do them and then reviewing them and interpreting them for the employer to implement control programs or validate that your programs are working. So conducting OHS program reviews. So companies have health and safety programs, but they need to be reviewed annually and continually to make sure they're up to date and covering off the concerns that are in that workplace. So what do our grads get from a salary perspective? The spread right now, I would say, is probably about $65,000 to $95,000. And it again depends on the previous work experience, whether it's a union or excluded position. A fair number of our grads actually end up being excluded management positions because you represent the employer, even though you're protecting the worker. So a lot of that is non-union work. But there are unionized positions as well. I would say the average salary right now for a new grad is about $74,000 to $75,000. But depending on where you work and where you go, it can be a fair amount higher or lower, depending if you really want an industry that has a set salary, but that's where you want to work. But I would say a lot of grads in the last year have been being offered pretty much 74, 75 to start. Now, if you experienced, you can easily make up to 100,000 or more, plus a lot of opportunity for independent consulting and a lot of other benefits that management gets in organizations. So there's good benefits package, there's good salary progression, and a lot of opportunity for independent consulting work. So job titles, it can be OHS coordinator, OHS specialist or environmental specialist or officer. If you're working for a regulator, you could be the manager, you can be a director. Sometimes we have health, safety, and security as our, coordinators, a job title, advisor, consultant. So there's quite a wide variety of job titles that encapsulate what we do depending on the organization you're with. So 95% of our grads are employed in a related field within 2 months of graduation. I would say the ones that are not are probably taking some time to go on vacation. Our job outcomes are incredibly strong. And there's lots of opportunity for advancement, promotion, and continual professional development. And sometimes students will continue on. And for example, some students who may not have a bachelor's may decide to stay at BCIT and complete their bachelor's in environmental health. Other students may complete their BBAs, Bachelor of Business Administration part-time or human resources. We've had grads come from the diploma program and eventually go right into MBA programs as well too. So, there's a lot of opportunity to move up within organizations with continued academic progression as well. So where do our grads go? I mean, this I think is one of the more tougher things for me to answer because it's quite a long list. We go to educational institutions like BCIT, like UBC, like SFU, like all the school boards for elementary and high school. Private consulting companies hire our students. A lot of the time, people don't want to do some assessments in-house. They'd rather have a third-party consultant do it for liability issues, and then they interpret the results in-house. And so some of our grads will go work for those third-party consultants, or sometimes they'll work for health authorities, telecoms, utilities. So BC Hydro, Fortis, Fraser Health, Vancouver Coastal Health, Interior Health, Vancouver Island Health are all employers. As I mentioned, the school boards, the cities, City of New West, City of Burnaby, City of Coquitlam, City of Vancouver, the regional districts like Metro Vancouver or the Fraser Valley Greater Regional District, I believe it's called. And in private industry as well, in agriculture, film production, construction, forestry, food production, manufacturing, government, there's no shortage of places for where our students go work, oil and gas, transportation. So if I look at our last year's grads, many of them gone into very, very different careers once they graduated. They kind of found what they liked and targeted where they wanted to be. So some wanted to work in construction, others wanted to work for the government, some wanted to work for industry associations, some have decided they want to go oil and gas. So it's really up to where they want to go is where they work. So here's a testimonial. I work as a server and a landscaper before entering the BCIT OHS diploma program. Thanks to the quality instruction I received from the wonderful instructors, as well as the wisdom shared by guest speakers in the industry, I'm ready to take the next step. This program has prepared me for a long and rewarding career in the field of occupational health and safety. And that's from Adrian Fung, who graduated last year, and he is working right now in the field. He had lots of opportunity to choose what he wanted to do when he graduated because of the strong job opportunities in our field. So we'll talk about the admission aspect of it, some of the important dates. The certificate program, I'll start with that one first. There's 3 terms a year. You can basically apply year round and you just wait for the term to start, which is September, January, April. So the next term start there is January. So you could register for the first classes for January. For the diploma 2-year program, intake is open right now. It's open from April 4th. We may do a second intake to May 31st. But our first intake is April 4th, and then depending on demand, we may have another one till May 31st for a second batch of students. So what do? You put an application in at any point. I would say the sooner the better, simply because you might want to find out if you have any outstanding requirements. So these applications are converted to PDFs. You complete a mandatory questionnaire. If you're interested, please make sure you do a good job in the questionnaire. It is an important part for us to better understand who you are as a candidate to apply to the program. Next slide. Oh, and sorry, then you apply online. And the requirements are, 2 years of full-time education in English, in an English-speaking country or equivalent test or course. So English 12, 67%, Chem 11, Physics 11, Math, an acceptable math course, and the questionnaire. So, now these requirements are equivalent to high school level. But again, many of our applicants have more than this. Many are coming with bachelor's degrees. We keep this entry requirements because there are a lot of people coming from trades or apply as well, and we'd like to make sure that they have an opportunity. They may not have taken a university pathway into the career. So we keep a very straightforward application requirements for your basic health sciences, and then we look at things like their general work experience. Usually 3 to 5. We prefer 5. And any additional post-secondary work they've done, as well as the grades above the minimum that we've listed there. So here's just the options for uploading the documents. You can scan and take a picture and upload. You can download them and upload. And then if you're BCIT students, those are already in the system, so you won't need to submit those. And so we do look at all the applications together. So once they're submitted, you'll be told if there's anything outstanding. And then we will review the applications once we get them in the department. So first they're looked at by admissions for meeting the minimum qualifications. Then they come to us and we review them around just after the deadline and rank, and then offer seats. So admission letters are accepted, and then you pay a commitment fee, and then you start the program next September. And as I mentioned, you can ladder our diploma into other credentials, for example, the Bachelor of Technology in Environmental Health at BCIT, or the BTech in Technology Management, or some students will go on and do a Bachelor's in Business Administration with the School of Business. And I think I'll hand it over to Julie for this part.
Yes, thank you, Bobby. Now, moving from the academics, I would like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but outside of school. Some of the student services that are available to you, prospective students and others, will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. Here are some of the important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentoring, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award, and selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. Please contact financial aid directly for more information, and I'll have the links up at the end. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. There's also our Health Services Clinic, which is on campus. There's medical care for current BCIT students year-round. There's a Counseling and Student Development Department, and there's a Recreation Services Department with a gym and like a workout gym and training facilities like racquetball and rock climbing and all sorts of things, so that you can have that available to you as well. Here is our program advising information. Now, there's several ways that you can contact them if you're ready to apply. There's telephone, there's Zoom, there's email. Maninder might give a couple comments about that at the end. She's a program advisor that is on the meeting right now and will be available for the Q&A at the very end. Now, you don't have to take pictures of this. You're going to all get emailed this slide deck and a video recording, but these are our social media handles. We encourage you to connect with us. Some of the links here as well, if you wanted to do a spend a day, come to campus, or find out more about other upcoming info sessions, there's all the links there for you. Now I open it up to our Q&A. I don't see any questions yet, but I'll just open it up to Maninder if you have anything to add that we may have missed. If you could comment on that. Otherwise, we'll give a few more minutes to let people put their questions into the chats.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you, Julie and Bobby. I think the only sort of couple of things I want to mention is that there are multiple upgrading opportunities available for any of you that may need to upgrade. So if you're missing one of the entrance requirements that was listed, there's upgrading options available at BCIT. There's also upgrading options available in your community, for example, adult night school or online courses through the various school districts in BC as well. So there's multiple options and you do have time to upgrade. As mentioned, the deadline date isn't till the springtime, so you definitely do have time to fulfill missing requirements. If you're uncertain, and maybe you've taken some post-secondary courses that perhaps can be used in place, you can apply as mentioned, and our admissions department will assess your transcript. If you are missing a requirement, your application actually will stay open until the deadline date. So it's still open. It gives you time to fulfill that requirement up until the deadline date. So that's great in that you can apply and then have time to upgrade. And there was one other thing I was going to mention that sort of not there at the moment. Maybe it'll come back, but I see we do have some questions in the chat right now as well.
Yeah, so just to echo on Meninder's point, the technology entry program is a really good way for people who are missing more than one or two requirements. So we do have students who take that to cover everything off. And I always find it's always good to also prepare them for what BCIT is like from a volume perspective. That program particularly helps. And I believe it's, I want to say 15 weeks long, I think. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's how long it is. So to answer the questions, opportunities such as co-op. So I'll say yes in the respect of we do an industry practicum that happens during the school year, where we partner you for in the second year from September to December. You work in a group of 3 with an industry partner, and then that prepares you for the January to May, where you do a solo project with the industry partner. That is not a paid co-op. That's and you know, that's an assignment-based activity, but it is with industry. Now for the summer, no, we don't have a co-op, but the reason simply is that we have so many jobs that come in for our students in the summer that we have long-standing relationships with industry that they start basically coming into my inbox January, February, and I hand that to the students and they start applying. So usually when someone doesn't have a summer job, it's likely because they want to take the summer off and work. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense for us to necessarily introduce a co-op when there's an incredible amount of variety and opportunity for students. So if you're looking for a summer paid position, that's definitely will be an opportunity, but it's just not done directly through us, although we help facilitate it. The 5 years work experience with your 5 years part-time, yes. Again, you know, it's not 5 years dedicated. People work part-time. We get applicants who are, you know, have less than 5 years, and we will still accept them if we're looking at the whole application. So, you know, for example, recent grads may have 3 years of work experience. We just want to see that you've dealt with the public. This job does have a lot of dealing with regulators and dealing with the public or dealing with workers. So it takes some, you know, somebody who's communicated in a professional environment is what's important. And that's and understanding a particular industry, it doesn't matter which one, it'll help you think about, you know, hazards and how you apply the learnings based on your own work experience. And yeah, I think if any other questions or anybody needs me to clarify, I can definitely help out with that. So some of the places that our students work in the summer that we help facilitate, a number of construction companies, high-tech energy companies. We have students who work for, you know, the cities. They work for WorkSafe BC. The last couple of years has had a student position that we've helped. They send it to us, we send it to the students. City of Vancouver, City of Surrey, they send us postings. The health authorities, Vancouver Coastal and Fraser Health, both send us postings that we then pass on to the students, and then they apply and get hired. And then many of them actually, some of them summer positions actually are full-time positions next year. They just wait for them to grad and they continue on. So we have first-year students going into second year who already have jobs waiting for them when they graduate in the next year.
And it came back to me what I was going to mention at the end there. If any of you have studied outside of Canada and are wondering if your courses from your home country are acceptable, they potentially could be. Then once again, the best thing to really do is to apply to find out for certain, but quite often you can meet the math, the physics, and the chemistry requirement with courses outside of Canada. And so that's sort of something I just wanted to mention. English is something that if you did not study in an English-speaking country where English is a primary language, you often need to write a test or take courses to fulfill the English requirement. And so if any of you need any clarification on your upgrading or the application or admissions process, as mentioned, we do offer telephone, virtual, and on-campus drop-in advising and email advising.
Megan is asking how competitive is the program. In previous years, it's been fairly competitive. I would say right now, it's a pretty good opportunity. If you apply, you'll get in, and that a lot has to do with a strong economy. So there's less people going to school, so there's more chances to get into a lot of the BCIT programs. So right now we're about 1-to-1, which means if you apply and you meet the requirements, you're likely to be offered. I can't promise that, but you'll be likely offered a seat in something, unless something has drastically changes with our intake for the next year. Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else for questions and answers?
I did want to say for the, we do have a student for a day program as well. So if anybody's interested, they're more than welcome to spend, one class, 2 classes, the whole day. I had a student who came in for a day, and he was only going to stay for the morning, and he ended up staying till 5:30. So just because once he sat in with the students, he just enjoyed it, right? So you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can arrange for you to come in for as little or as long as you like on a particular day where you might get some breadth of experience on what our students learn and what they go through. And then they're going to talk about their summer jobs, which will, is a really good thing to learn about.
Awesome, thanks, Bobby.
So just to address this question about, physics, we do not waive entry requirements. So, having a master's or a PhD or medical degree, that's great, but you do need to make sure you have the entry requirements at a minimum before you enter the program. Admissions can help with finding an equivalent class for you to take to meet those requirements. We do also accept midterm marks. So there's lots of time, but if you start taking in January and you can only get the midterm marks to us, we will accept those and hold a seat. But there's lots of time to get it completed before then.
Oh, we have another question from Megan again. Does first-year university physics waive the high school physics requirement?
So I will, from my experience, so this is more of an admissions thing, I would say likely yes, but until you put an application in and then they check off this is better than high school physics, you're good. I can't actually say 100%, but it is my experience that would be the case.
I can speak to that just a little bit further as well. In place of our academic requirements, we do accept first-year courses and higher from the same subject matter. So if you have taken a 3-credit physics course in college or university, and we've explained that a little bit further on our website as well, what that means, you do still need to get the same minimum grade that's required in the high school course, but generally speaking, it would be considered, and then as mentioned, it's safe to apply to have that assessed.
And there are math, physics, and chem classes that are taken in first year. So if you have one of those first year physics classes, you can likely get transfer credit. So you can not have to take those, which makes it a little bit easier on the schedule. Of course, you wouldn't if you don't need to take it again. So there's that as well to, if you look at your transcript and see that you have those courses.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to invite everybody to email Bobby if you have any other questions following this information session. I'd like to thank Bobby for that excellent presentation, Maninder from Program Advising for attending, and the rest of the team from BCIT for supporting this event. If you have, again, any questions, please feel free to reach out to Bobby, and I thank you all and enjoy your afternoon.
We had one quick one that popped up at the end, Julie, so I'll just address it. And Maninder can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe that that's an issue. For transfer credits, there is a time requirement, but we do have people who apply for years and years later. And when you're applying, if you've done the courses, that's sufficient. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just quickly mention then, just to add to that, is that every program at BCIT is different. So some programs, you may ask this question because you've seen some programs have a recency requirement, some programs don't. So for this specific program, there isn't a recency requirement.
Yeah, not for entry. For transfer credits, there may be, but Maninder's 100% right, not for entry, we don't have it. And feel free to reach out to me at any point if you want to talk more about the program itself. Any admissions questions, I may redirect to Maninder's group, but I can give some general guidance on them.